Well, it's Friday, February 27th. I'm Brittany Noble, and here's what's coming up today on The Breakdown. A major voting rights win for Black voters in Mississippi could be on the line as the U.S. Supreme Court weighs a decision that may reshape political power nationwide. As the only HBCU with a Division I swimming and diving program, the victory at the NEC Championships is about more than medals. It's representation, excellence, and leadership. Take a journey across the Black Diaspora to Ghana, where culture, connection, and opportunity meet. The founder of Conscious Immersion will join us to share how this experience is changing lives. The Breakdown starts right now. Well, today marks the second day as we celebrate the life of Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. His body is currently lying in state at Rainbow Push Coalition on East 50th Street in Chicago today. The doors opened at 10 o'clock a.m. His body will lie in repose at South Carolina State Capitol Rotunda beginning Monday, March 2nd. Next Friday, services will be held at the House of Hope, and next Saturday, there will be a private homegoing at Rainbow Push. Jackson died last Tuesday. He was 84 years old. Well, the Trump administration is withholding more than $250 million in Medicaid funds from Minnesota due to fraud claims. The administration's crackdown comes days after President Donald Trump vowed during his State of the Union address to take an uncompromising stance on fraud. Without specifics, Trump says the matter has grown rampant across several states. Vice President J.D. Vance, along with the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administrator Mehmet Oz, announced the move on Wednesday, blaming Minnesota Governor Tim Walz for failing to adequately police the safety net program and warning the pause would continue until the state submitted an acceptable plan for targeting its misuse.
In order to ensure that the state of Minnesota takes its obligations seriously to be good stewards of the American people's tax money.
It's going to be $259 million of deferred payments for Medicaid to Minnesota, which we're announcing as I speak to Governor Walz and his team. We have notified the state and that we will give them the money, but we're going to hold it and only release it after they propose and act on a comprehensive corrective action plan to solve the problem.
The halt to Medicaid payments for Minnesota represents just the latest effort to pressure the state over the last several months after conservatives surfaced a widespread social services fraud scheme that caught the attention of Trump and his aides. The scandal prompted the administration to surge immigration forces into the state, a weeks-long aggressive presence that led to the fatal shootings of two U.S. citizens, Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Well, Mississippi's Black voters recently won a victory that puts them on the brink of having more say over who sits on the state Supreme Court. But that win may be short-lived. In the coming months, the U.S. Supreme Court will rule on a case that could weaken or overturn key parts of the Voting Rights Act, a civil rights era law that protects the power of racial minorities to elect candidates of their choice. If the law is appended, it could radically alter the country's voting maps, a shift that would be felt heavily in Mississippi and unwind decades of progress for Black voters across the United States. Last year, federal judge Sherian Cook found that the voter map used to elect Mississippi Supreme Court justices illegally diminishes Black voting power in violation of the Voting Rights Act. She then ordered state lawmakers to redraw one of the three districts that are used to elect 9 Supreme Court justices. Later in the show, in our case You Missed It on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Roland will further explain how this possible move will impact Black voters and how we can fight back against voter oppressors. The Justice Department announces it sued 5 additional states, Utah, Oklahoma, Kentucky, West Virginia, and New Jersey, requesting that their election data be shared with the Trump administration. It comes amid the agency's push for access to voter rolls from states being controlled by Democrats. This brings the DOJ's total list to 29 states and the District of Columbia that is being sued. The Trump administration has intensified its efforts to take over elections in recent months, even though the U.S. Constitution gives states, not federal officials, the authority to run elections. Most states have their Secretary of State oversee elections. California's Secretary of State Shirley Weber is one official who is not backing down, promising to fight the Trump administration and protect voters' personal information.
We're obviously in a tumultuous situation in terms of voting rights acts, those kinds of things. And in California, we've made it our business to try to open up voting to every legitimate citizen in California.
The Trump administration's claims they need the voters' information to verify voting rules are accurate and secure, though they did not provide any evidence behind why they launched the lawsuits. Well, a federal jury in downtown Los Angeles has awarded $3 million to the daughter of an Air Force veteran who was unarmed when he was shot and seriously injured by Los Angeles Police Department officers in 2022. A jury found that officers were not justified in their use of deadly force against Jermaine Petit, and that shots fired against him were not necessary to defend human life. At trial, evidence showed that Petit was unarmed at the time of the altercation on July 18, 2022, but he was carrying a black metal auto part shaped like a small gun. When officers initially approached him, he showed them the car part in his hand, and one of the officers stated, "It's not a gun, bro." Petit then walked away from the officers. Despite the statement that the object was not a gun, one officer fired 2 shots at Petit from his patrol vehicle, striking him in the jaw. Another officer fired 1 shot that struck Petit in the back. Though Petit survived the shooting, he was found dead in his home in 2024, and the cause of death was undetermined. A refugee from Burma has been found dead in Buffalo, New York, days after being released from custody and dropped off at a coffee shop by U.S. Border Patrol. Police say Nurul Amin Shah Alam, a blind father of 2 who spoke limited English, was found dead Tuesday, February 24th on Perry Street. He had been reported missing after his release on February 19th. The Erie County Sheriff's Office says Border Patrol agents took custody of him after bond was posted on a reduced charges tied to a 2025 arrest. Customs and Border Protection says agents gave him a courtesy ride to Tim Hortons near his last known address and that he showed no signs of distress. The Erie County Medical Examiner ruled his death health-related with exposure and homicide ruled out. Buffalo's Mayor Sean Ryan is calling the death preventable and is demanding answers as this investigation continues. Well, the United States is seeing a sharp rise in measles cases this year. New data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows more than 1,100 infections reported so far, already 6 times higher than what's typical for an entire year. Health officials warn that the virus can be serious. About 1 in every 1,000 infected children may develop a dangerous swelling of the brain. More than 80% of cases are among children and teens, with about 1 in 4 infections in kids under 5. Last year, the U.S. recorded nearly 2,300 measles cases. That's the highest annual total in decades, and the country is now on pace to surpass that number again. Well, Howard University is celebrating a historic milestone as its swimming and diving teams delivered a clean sweep at the NEC Championships. It took place in Geneva, Ohio. The men secured back-to-back championships, while the women captured their first in program history. In addition to winning both team championships, the Bison earned impressive individual honors. In a Facebook post, Howard University said, "As the only HBCU with a Division I swimming and diving program, this moment goes beyond medals. It's representation, excellence, and proof that Bison show up to compete and to lead." Well, did you miss last night's episode of Roland Martin Unfiltered? No worries. We have you covered on the other side of the break. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown. And remember, for more news headlines and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day, please visit the Black Star Network. We are your source for stories that matter to our community. We'll be right back. You're watching The Breakdown with Brittany Noble on the Black Star Network.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
I'm Risa Colbert, and you're watching the Black Star Network.
All right, folks, in case you missed it on Roland Martin Unfiltered last night, Roland talks about Black voters in Mississippi and them recently winning a victory that gives them more say over who sits on the state Supreme Court. But that win may be short-lived.
Something is happening right now that we warned everybody was going to take place. and that is Donald Trump and his minions were going to do all they could to steal the election. For the last 6 years, all Donald Trump has done is complain about the 2020 election, saying that it was stolen. Now, keep in mind, other Republicans ran and won. Democrats ran and won, but somehow he was the only person who was impacted by the election. All he has done is yell, rig, rig, rig. Now what we have are some 17 individuals who are now coming forward to claim that China interfered in the 2020 election. So as a result, Donald Trump should receive emergency powers to increase executive oversight of the 2026 midterm elections. They literally are saying that Trump could use the National Emergencies Act to intervene in state-led voting procedures. They argue these drastic measures are necessary to ensure what they call election integrity. Constitutional experts warn that such an action would face immediate and serious challenges in the federal court system. But these folks, they do not care. They are scared to death. Donald Trump said to Republicans last month that you guys got to hold onto the House. If you don't, they're going to impeach me for a third time. He is scared to death of being impeached. Well, if you didn't do anything wrong, why are you scared to get impeached? Because you know you've done some corrupt things since you've been in power. And so that's what we have going on here. My panel, Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University out of Washington, D.C. Reese Colbert, host of the Reese Colbert Show on Sirius XM Radio out of Washington, D.C. as well. Glad to have both of you here. Greg, listen, you went to law school, you understand the law, and these folks are down and dirty, they're nasty, they're despicable, and what they are trying to do, this action right here, is all about how can they steal the midterms. He's scared to lose the House and lose the Senate because then he can't pass anything if Democrats control one or both of those chambers. If Democrats control the Senate, they then determine his nominees getting approved. They determine if there's even going to be hearings for federal judges and Supreme Court judges. And so to have 17 of his supporters now floating the possibility of taking over the election, it shows you how desperate and corrupt these people are.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. You know, I like what Ilhan Omar is referring to him as President Majnoon, an Arabic word meaning evil, mad, or fanatic. But as you say, I'm looking at the Democracy Now! Report that just dropped a few minutes ago, and he's got all these election deniers in place. This guy, Peter Ticknen, who was the attorney for Tina Peters, we remember, of course, in Colorado, who was trying to throw out the vote, and she's serving a 9-year sentence. He's the one saying, you know, they're going to try to evoke, as you said, the National Emergencies Act and the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. You know, Russell Vought is somewhere around in this, and of course, Steve Bannon filtering around, but they're going to fail. And I'll tell you why they're going to fail, because even though you've got the complete people in the bag for him, like Clarence Thomas, Sam Alito, clearly John Roberts, who we heard in passing Trump refer to during the State of the Union, when he talked about voter ID, said, we got to do something, John, we can't let it happen. Who are you talking to? You're talking to John Roberts. But the lower courts are clearly pushing back. I think now this is where the acid test is going to reveal that there are people, regardless of their political affiliation, that are not going to allow this madman, this Majnoon, to run over all the laws in the United States. I'm optimistic that this is just not going to come to pass.
Well, but here's the thing for me, Reese, and when we were sitting here trying to warn people about this thug being back in power, we kept trying to tell people this is the stuff that they would try to do, what the kind of action they would try to take. And there were a lot of black people and others saying, well, listen, I don't think they're going to go that far. And I'm like, guys, y'all don't understand. These folks do not care about the law. They do not care about the Constitution. They care about power. And so in this Washington Post story, you have these individuals. It's a 17-page executive order where they want to nationalize the elections. And Peter Ticknen, who Greg was talking about, he said, quote, we have a situation where the president is aware that there are foreign interests that are interfering in our election processes, and that the president has to be able to deal with it, including by banning mail-in ballots and inserting voting machines. Really? Are y'all serious? And so here's the problem here, Reese. I recall the 2016 election when intelligence services went to President Obama and Mitch McConnell and congressional leaders and said foreign actors are trying to interfere with the election. McConnell objected to Obama publicly coming out until after the election, and Obama did. Obama should have told Mitch McConnell to go to hell. Then, of course, we saw, and Trump, they say, oh, no, y'all kept saying Russia, Russia, Russia. Oh, it didn't exist. It didn't exist. They kept trying to deflect to China and North Korea and Iran and others. And so then you had a Senate report that actually detailed foreign interference. Senator Marco Rubio was one of the people who was on the panel where they wrote the report. He becomes Secretary of State and act like the report never even existed. These people are liars. They do not care about the Constitution. And I'm telling you, they are going to try to make this thing happen. This is not a bluff. They will try to make it happen, because if they can get away with stealing the election, they absolutely will try.
Well, yeah, Donald Trump ran and he said, just vote for me and you'll never have to vote for me again. That's what he said. Oh, no, I'm not. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Maybe Roland can't hear me. But,
okay, guys, Reese, hold on one second. Reese, hold on one second. Guys, Reese, hold on. Reese is talking, guys. I can't hear her. So I need y'all to fix that. I can't hear Reese. So, Reese, go ahead and talk. Control room, y'all fix the audio so I can hear. Reese, go ahead. Now I can hear you. Go.
Well, so Donald Trump, when he ran in 2024, he told an audience, just vote for me once, you'll never have to vote again. And so he's already stated what the intentions are, is to lie, cheat, and steal. Every single accusation from this administration is a confession. And so should we be able to successfully make it through the midterms without them lying, cheating, and stealing to the point to where they hold the majority, the first order of business of Democrats needs to be to investigate the 2024 elections. Because if you're saying that it's possible that it happened in the 2020 elections, then goddamn it, I guess it's possible that it happened in 2024 as well. Because what the hell would stop them if they didn't want Donald Trump's ass in there? Why is he sitting in there right now? Or maybe other people like Vladimir Putin or other actors did want Donald Trump in here, and that's why he's sitting in office. And so we can't just disregard what they're saying, because usually they're doing the exact same things they're accusing the other side of doing. And so this is really important. And it is a pretext that they're using to try to steal these elections. And I'll also add, I remember when Andrew Gillum ran in 2020, no, I guess it was 2018. And there was, I'm pretty sure it was a black woman in Miami-Dade who talked about election interference in that race. And so that was never investigated, because unfortunately Democrats are too busy half the time. And I know that he wasn't president, Democrats weren't president then, but Democrats have taken the posture that what Donald Trump is saying isn't even possible, because they want to try to engender faith in the election system. Clearly there are some vulnerabilities here, but I have every single bit of assurance that any vulnerabilities are being exploited by Republicans for the benefit of Republicans. So what we need to know is that we have to get far beyond cheating distance. Whatever they do, we have to come back 10 times harder so that it is impossible to deny the will of the American people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, what has to happen, Greg, I think about the movie Remember the Titans, when it said, Herman, leave no doubt. I mean, we have to what we were, who did we have on the show the other day? I think it was Congressman Jonathan Jackson talking about his dad. And he said, we have to overwhelm the voting polls. I mean, we have to make it so hard for these folks to cheat. They'd be like, damn, we're going to have to flip 100, 200, 300,000 votes. We got to put pressure on these folks. And this is no moment for people to sit out. I mean, we say this all the time. I've been seeing these videos of some of these Simple Simons talking about, I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I didn't vote for Trump because I didn't hear an agenda on police brutality. That's a lie. Didn't hear an agenda on economics. That's a lie. And I'm telling you, what these people want to do, they want to steal it. This Cali decision, we're going to talk coming up next what's happening in Mississippi. They absolutely want to invalidate state races, state Senate, state representative races, congressional races. People need to understand, if there's a national emergency, It is a national black emergency. Black people need to understand that there is an all-out assault to completely roll us back to pre-1964 Civil Rights Act, 65 Voting Rights Act, 68 Fair Housing Act days. And if these Republicans had their way, they would undo, and we already know they're trying to challenge the 14th Amendment, they will undo the 3 Reconstruction Amendments that were passed by the radical Republicans.
You're absolutely right, Roland. Of course, there are unintended consequences. There always are unintended consequences. In this case, the Constitution is crystal clear. The President of the United States has no authority to interfere in federal elections at the state level. We know, of course, that this draft executive order, which has been kicked around since maybe July, according to this early reporting, we know that it does not have the force of law. It can be ignored. The Colorado Attorney General has already said we will fight them, but it's really almost not necessary to fight them in court because the courts have shown very clearly that they have rejected similar attempts. There's no statutory authority. There's just no way for them to do it. If, however, to your point, they do not only attempt this, but figure out how to bring it off, then of course the other prong becomes the prong that we should already, and Reese, you've already said it, we should already be practicing, which is to literally overwhelm them. As for the chattering class, the talking heads, the YouTubians, and others who are talking silly, maybe they're on the payroll, maybe they're not, the bottom line is this: we will overwhelm you as well. And in overwhelming you, we will use you as the barometer through which we show other black people and everyone else that this is what weaponized ignorance looks like. We're not going to debate you. We're not going to show you the other side. We're simply going to say you are a tool of white supremacy. And people are going to lose friendships. Well, guess what? Your political backs need to be broken. The unintended consequence, however, is let's just say that they succeed on all fronts. And this looks more like Turkey, or this looks more like Iran or somewhere where there are elections, but one candidate wins 90% of the vote and white supremacy reigns. Well, you know what comes next? Look at American history. There will be a fight. The only question becomes, you want to do it in the ballot box or do you want to do it in the street? But either way, this white supremacy is on its last legs and it's behaving that way. They're desperate and it's showing.
Well, coming up on The Breakdown, the powerful conversation about reconnecting with heritage and building opportunity abroad. We're joined by Dr. Isaac Aday, founder and CEO of Conscious Immersion, to talk about why more people across the diaspora are turning to Ghana for connection, culture, and collaboration. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown. Plus, have you come across a news story that deserves national attention? We certainly want to hear from you. Would you please submit a comment to us? There's a QR code. You can see it there on the screen. If you've come across a news story that deserves our attention, we really, really want to hear from you. So just scan that QR code. Let us know what's going on, and hopefully we can stay in touch. We'll be right back after the break.
They said the quiet part out loud. Black votes are a threat, so they erased them. After the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2013, Republican legislatures moved fast. New voter ID laws, polling place shutdowns, purges of black voters from the rolls. Trump's Justice Department didn't stop it, they joined in. In 2018, his DOJ backed Ohio's voter purge system, a scheme that disproportionately erased black voters. Their goal, erase black votes and political power. Yeah, that happened. These are the kinds of stories that we cover every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Subscribe on YouTube and download the Black Star Network app. Support fact-based independent journalism that centers African Americans and the issues that matter to our community.
If in this country right now, you have people get up in the morning and the only thing they can think about is how many people they can hurt, and they got the power, that's the time for mourning.
For better or worse, what makes America special, it's that legal system that's supposed to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
We are at a point of a moral emergency. We must raise a voice of outrage. We must raise a voice of compassion. And we must raise a voice of unity.
We are not in a crisis of party versus party. We are in a crisis of civilization, a human rights crisis, and a crisis of democracy itself. And guess what? You've been chosen to make sure that those that would destroy, those that would hate, don't have the final say, and they don't ultimately win.
What's happening? This is your man, Motown recording artist Kim. You are watching the Black Star Network.
Connection, cultural understanding, and real opportunity beyond what we've been taught to expect. And for many, that journey is leading them straight to Ghana. Conscious Immersion is a unique experience designed to connect people not just to the history of Ghana, but to its present and future through cultural immersion, education, community engagement, and pathways to collaboration and investment. Joining me now is Dr. Isaac Adai, founder and CEO of Conscious Immersion. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the breakdown.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be with you today to talk about this trend to Ghana.
Tell us a little bit more about it.
Sure. So everybody is really thinking about how to reconnect with the continent. We're seeing a global shift with demographics and energy, and Ghana for years has been known as the gateway to Africa. And since 2019's year of the return, it's been a hot spot, specifically for those in the African diaspora.
Tell us a little bit more about Conscious Immersion and
Sure.
what makes it different from a typical travel experience.
Sure. So anybody can go to Ghana on their own and have a good time. But my family's from Ghana, and I've been traveling there since I was 8 years old. So we have a very unique and direct way to connect with the country. I designed Conscious Immersion to give people more than just a tourism experience, but a deeper dive into what it looks like to live in Ghana, invest in Ghana, and do business in Ghana. So we've had a range of individuals and institutions join our immersions because they're able to get a blend of cultural as well as some more specifics about what it takes to engage with the country in a more formal way.
And tell us more, like what inspired you to create this program and why was it important for you to build something so intentional?
Sure. Well, I have to give credit to my parents. They are tribal leaders in Ghana and professors in the US, and they've always taught my siblings and I about our ancestry and how even though we were born in America, we're Ghanaians. And so we've been going since we were children, started taking our friends with us after college. We're all HBCU grads. But in 2022, my sister Angela organized our first big group around her wedding. And we did a few of those trips and decided, let's give folks a deeper dive because we started seeing more people move into Ghana, having questions about doing business. And we were getting a lot of outreach since we were doing trips on all of these other specifics. So Conscious Immersion was born out of that energy, essentially.
And tell us a little bit more about what Ghana represents for Black Americans right now.
Yeah, Ghana is a beautiful country, and it represents heritage. It represents a connection to ancestry and its home. Essentially, if you think about the slave trade, most of the Black American community today hails from some part of West Africa and highly likely Ghana. And even if it's not Ghana, it's still the continent, it's still the motherland. And for many people, specifically in the Black community, it's a great country to have your first experience with the continent. It's a very welcoming country. It's an English-speaking country. It's very safe and stable economy politically. So folks can go, they can engage. And now we're seeing a whole host of people connect there. I mean, we're seeing Pan-Hellenic organizations start chapters. I'm a charter member of the Alpha Phi Alpha chapter. The AKAs just started a chapter. MPHC just launched a chapter. So the wave is really, really picking up a lot of steam.
When someone signs up for a Conscious Immersion experience, tell us exactly what they can expect.
Yes. When you join a Conscious Immersion experience, you're going to have a very tailored and curated experience to Ghana. And one thing that we do that's unique, we take people to the Volta region, which is where our family is from, which is probably the most, I would say, Ghana's best kept secret. Not everybody gets to travel there, but when you do, you'll see some of the highest waterfalls in the country, some of the highest mountain ranges in the country, and just a lot of growth and opportunity. So Conscious Immersion gives people exposure to the Volta region. We get people connected with government leaders, with business leaders, with academic leaders. So it's a really deep, immersive experience that awakens your consciousness, hence the name Conscious Immersion.
For people who feel called to go, but still feel a bit nervous or kind of unsure, what do you want them to understand?
Yeah, Ghana seems very far away and it seems like a land that is distant. But what I tell people, it's closer than you think. We've got direct flights from the US, one. Two, it's a very welcoming place and you can actually go there and navigate on your own. It's not as hard to get to Ghana as you think. Most of the people that I've taken to Ghana, once they go and come back, they say, I wish I had gone a long time ago. And they're also thankful that they had the experience because it helps dispel some of these myths that we have about the continent.
What opportunities do you see right now in Ghana for Black professionals and entrepreneurs, even families who want to build real relationships and even long-term investments?
Yeah, great question. So we're supporting all of that, right? So we've got folks who've joined us who are now doing business in Ghana, and we're helping them establish a business presence there. We have people in our group who want to relocate with their families, and so they're getting engaged in real estate. The group that we took in January, we took them on a real estate tour so that they could see what some of those investment opportunities look like. We've got universities looking to establish a presence there. The thing that I tell people about Ghana, specifically under President Mahama's new agenda for the country, is that it's open for business. And Ghana has figured out that the diaspora is the key to growth and progression as a nation. So they're welcoming the country. They have a diaspora citizenship pathway. If you're an entrepreneur thinking about investing, real estate obviously is a hot opportunity there, but fintech is growing. There are opportunities to revolutionize the healthcare landscape. And then Ghana is focused on processing more agricultural goods in country. So agro-processing and manufacturing are also investment opportunities, in addition to mining. So we help people identify these opportunities and engage by giving them a first introduction to the country and then helping them see people on the ground who are from the Black American community living and thriving and showing them what's possible.
And tell us more about the impact that you have seen firsthand on people that have been a part of these immersions. How has it impacted them personally, mentally, even spiritually?
Yeah, I think the spiritual transformation is one of the most profound. When people go to Ghana, they embrace this awakening of sorts. And that's why I use the phrase conscious. You're going to go to a country and see a predominant population of people that look just like you. That's the first thing that shocks people. It's like, wow, this is a place where we are, where we're in leadership and where we're driving what's happening. The spiritual connection is there. We take people to Cape Coast to visit the slave castles and to go to the last bath. And that connection hits home for people because it helps them understand that their ancestors walked these lands and were taken away to another country to build, but we're still the same people. We still have the same ancestry and DNA within us. And so Ghana is home. And when I take people there, they realize, wow, this has been kept from me my entire life. I wish I had known about this. And thankfully to my parents, we've been able to have those experiences since we were children.
And tell us about the next trip.
Sure. So our next trip is in May, and this one is focused on education. So we're going to be hosting a group of HBCU students, including students from Tennessee State University, but we'll also have K through 12 and university leaders joining us for an immersion tied to the eLearning Africa Conference. So that's what we have coming up next. We're putting a lot of work into getting folks prepped for that trip. We'll do additional trips in the summer and later in the fall. And we're now starting to curate some bespoke experiences for organizations that are reaching out. So we do a little bit of both.
Fantastic. How can people connect with you and learn more about Conscious Immersion?
Sure. Visit consciousimmersion.com, or you can follow me on any social media platform, Isaac Adai, PhD. Please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Our team does a great job of building these connections. We partner with the Onyx Group and folks on the ground in Ghana to help cement what it means to travel back home, but not just to go as a tourist, but to go and actually connect and build roots. So we'd love to help you have that experience.
Dr. Isaac Adai, founder and CEO of Conscious Immersion, thank you so much for joining us on The Breakdown.
Brittany, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, coming up after the break on The Breakdown, attorney Imani Matuka is working to change the face of corporate law through Bridging the Gap Scholarship. It's creating real pathways for underrepresented students to enter the profession. We'll talk barriers, mentorship, and why access to corporate law matters for our community. Stay with us. You're watching The Breakdown. And the support that you give to us here at the Black Star Network is absolutely critical to the work that we do. Please support us via Cash App using the Stripe code. We'll put that here in the bottom left-hand corner. There you see it. You can also help us out with credit cards. You can use the same thing there. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. PayPal's R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle at RolandSMartin.com. Rolling at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. If you're old school, you could send checks and money orders, all payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196 in Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Our goal is to raise $1 million by December 31st, and so we really appreciate your support. We'll see you after the break. Stay with us.
With medicine and science under attack, I want to keep you and your family informed and healthy. I'm Dr. Ebony Hilton, and I knew at the age of 8 that I wanted to be a doctor. So I studied hard and became the first African-American female anesthesiologist hired at the Medical University of South Carolina since its opening in 1824. And I always say I was made into a doctor, but I was born to be a mom. And as a new mom, wife, sister, daughter, and friend, I understand how frightening a medical crisis can be. I care for individuals on some of the worst days of their lives, and it's my mission to provide you with a safe space to gain clarity on issues affecting your mind, body, and soul. I recognize that there are health disparities, particularly as it pertains to race, and I want to help bridge the gap between you and your healthcare providers. Join me every Thursday for Second Opinion on the Black Star Network, where each week I'll invite experts from various medical fields to share the latest health news. We'll discuss topics such as the vaccine debate, mental and sexual health, medical bias, infertility, menopause, andropause, nutrition, and aging. Together with my medical colleagues, we aim to provide you with a second opinion. Don't miss it, Thursdays only on the Black Star Network.
Hey y'all, welcome to The Other Side of Change, only on the Black Star Network and hosted by myself, Bria Baker, and my good sis, Jamira Burley. We are just two millennial women tackling everything at the intersection of politics, gender, and pop culture.
And we don't just settle for commentary. This is about solution-driven dialogue to get us to the world as it could be and not just as it is.
Watch us on the Black Star Network, so tune in to The Other Side of Change.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches. I'm real revolutionary right now. Support this man, Black media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland. Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
For so many students, the biggest barrier to higher education isn't necessarily talent, sometimes it's access. And for first-generation students, students from working-class families, or students trying to break cycles of hardship, the gap between being accepted into college and actually being able to afford it can sometimes feel impossible. Our guest today is working to close that gap. Let's welcome attorney Imani Matuka, the founder of Bridging the Gap Scholarship, an initiative designed to help students move forward when finances and resources and opportunities stand in the way. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your story, Imani. Now you're an attorney.
Yes.
Tell us what it took for you to get to that level.
Sure. So I actually come from a family of attorneys. My mother is a litigator. I have an aunt who went the corporate big law route. I have an uncle who does insurance defense. So the question was never, are you going to law school? It was more so when. I matriculated through North Carolina A&T, Aggie Pride. And then I graduated in 2018 and then went to Washington University School of Law. Where I graduated in 2021. And immediately after graduation, I started at an international law firm in Dallas. And I just recently moved from that firm to start the Dallas office of Maatuka Al-Hidi Imkis, opening the Dallas office of a firm managed by my mother, Shayla Maatuka.
And so was there a moment in your journey when you realized that education and access wasn't necessarily equal?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say my first year at WashU School of Law. So that's actually when we founded Bridging the Gap Scholarship. This is 2019. And I became acutely aware that students did not understand the doors that had been open for them once they got to a prestigious university, a T14, a T20. That's how we colloquially say the top 20 law schools, the top 14 law schools. Didn't understand that when you're at these schools, the largest firms and the firms that we deem the most prestigious in our industry are actually coming to your campus to recruit these students. So it takes a lot of the legwork from the students. And then on top of that, these students who get these internships at these larger law firms are often paid upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 over a 10-week period. And then they have entry-level salaries that begin at $250,000 total comp. And I remember my first year at Washington University learning that there were so many students who had no idea about the financial incentives that came with some of these big law jobs, and just how there was this information gap, if you will, with a number of predominantly first-generation law students.
So when you're bridging that gap, what in detail does that look like in real life for students and their families?
Absolutely. So at Bridging the Gap Scholarship, we think that we've learned the cheat code, if you will, to law school admission success. So with every Bridging the Gap Scholar, you get 4 very vital resources that we think bridge that gap to being able to achieve careers in these certain fields. So one, it's $1,000. It is very expensive to just apply to these top institutions. Sometimes application fees can be $250 per application. So we're giving the scholars $1,000 cash to bridge that gap so that they can actually afford to just apply to law schools. Similarly, we have partnered with Spivey Consulting. Spivey Consulting is a consulting firm that specializes in law school admissions process, helping students with, their personal statement, other ancillary statements that you might have to draft in order to seek admission to these law schools. We've also partnered with Blueprint, which is the top or leading LSAT preparatory course. And so all of our BTG scholars are able to get a Blueprint course to then learn how to master the LSAT, which is the admissions exam that you need to take before you actually seek admission to a law school. And then last, we've also partnered with Barbary Law Preview. Barbary Law Preview is an organization that focuses on basically giving law students a boot camp, if you will, learning all the tips and tricks that you need to be successful in that first semester of law school, because we found that that is the most vital semester of law school, because those grades impact your ability to get that employment that is so coveted.
Imani, that sounds amazing. Who is this scholarship really designed to serve? Maybe what types of students are you hoping will apply for this?
Well, it's exactly what you kind of defined earlier. It's those first generation law students. It's those students who have put in all the hard work, and for no other reason but for a lack of resources, they're unable to get to the next level. I was a benefactor of outstanding circumstances. I came from a family of lawyers. I had people very close to me who went the big law route, who could guide me and tell me, this is how you make yourself more attractive. This is what you need to do at this stage. There are so many students who just do not have this information, and that's where Bridging the Gap comes in.
And so tell us, the Bridging the Gap Scholarship, how does it help students stay in school and succeed?
Well, one of the things, and I'd say a strong pillar of Bridging the Gap Scholarship, and one I failed to mention, is that all of our scholars get mentorship from our board. And I've found that, being able to pick up the phone to an attorney who is heavily invested in your success makes the world of a difference. I mean, we have watched scholars, just thinking about our first class in 2019, who did amazing, by the way, went to WashU, Cornell, Georgetown, Penn Law. At every single moment of their matriculation through law school, they were able to lean on us to ask questions, ask for advice, and really just get affirmation that they are on the right track and they are doing exactly what they need to do. Now we have those students who have now gone on to work at big law firms, some of whom are clerking, some of whom have gone on to do even bigger and better things. And so that's really the secret sauce, if you will, having that mentorship throughout the law school process so that you're never abandoned after you're a BTG scholar.
I know having that mentorship can definitely build confidence. What has been the most powerful response you've received so far from students or their families?
I think the most powerful response is seeing students be able to build that generational wealth. Like I said, a lot of our students are first generation college students. A lot of them worked and come from those more blue collar families where their parents every single day are working very, very hard to provide for them, their siblings, etc. So now to see those same students be positioned where not only can they provide for their family, but now they can give back many of our BTG scholars are now donors who are contributing every month, every year to BTG, basically paying it forward to the next generation because they know firsthand how important those resources were for them.
For anyone watching right now who wants to support your mission, what's the best way that they can help?
Go to bridgingthegapscholarship.com. You can make a donation. And for students who are interested in applying to the program, our applications close on February 15th, and you can also apply on that website as well.
All right, February 15th, that's the deadline. Finally, what do you want students watching to know if they feel like they are carrying the weight of their dreams alone?
That they can accomplish anything that they put their minds to. And there are people out there in the world who are looking to give them a helping hand. All they need to do is find it.
Amani, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for the work that you're doing to make sure that students can step into their future. We certainly appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, here's a reminder to shop blackstarnetwork.com, where you can find official Black Star Network swag from hoodies, t-shirts, crew necks, and all of the essentials you may need. It's a way to support the network and show pride in Black-owned media wherever you go. But it doesn't stop there. When you shop at shopblackstarnetwork.com, you're also supporting a growing collection of Black-owned businesses featured on the site. So there you see it, all the things that you can buy there on our website. This is just a way to support those Black-owned brands that are doing incredible work and keep our money circulating in our community. So shop blackstarnetwork.com. That's going to do it for us today on The Breakdown. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Be sure to keep the conversation going online. We also want to hear from you. Please feel free to send us your questions, story ideas. We just want to know what's happening in your community. And do not forget, we'll be back again here on Monday with more news, more context, and more voices that matter. For more news, special coverage, and on-demand content, visit blackstarnetwork.com. And of course, check out everything happening across our website there. Politics, news, all the videos you need. It's on Black Star Network.